The year was 2087 and humanity had finally stretched beyond Earth's cradle. People lived and worked on the Moon and Mars, with the first mining ships venturing into the asteroid belt. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Captain Lisa Morgan thought about this as she stared at the unusual readings on her screen. "Are you sure this is accurate?" she asked her sensor operator. Frank Davis nodded without looking up. "Yes, Captain. I've checked it 3 times. Something big happened at the edge of our solar system." Lisa drummed her fingers on the armrest of her command chair. The UES Horizon was a research vessel, not meant for first contact or potential danger. Protocol said they should report back to Earth Command and wait for instructions. How long until a proper response team could reach those coordinates? She asked her navigator. "At least 2 weeks, Captain," replied Susan Miller. "We're the closest ship by far." Lisa made her decision. "Plot a course. Whatever happened out there might not wait for backup." As the Horizon changed direction, Jack Russell, her first officer, approached with concern on his face. "Captain, are you sure about this? We're not equipped for unknown encounters." "That's exactly why we need to go, Jack," Lisa said quietly. "If there's something out there that could threaten Earth, we need to know now, not in 2 weeks." 3 days later, the Horizon slowed as it approached the coordinates. The crew fell silent as the main screen displayed the scene before them. 2 massive ships, clearly not of human design, drifted in the emptiness. One was torn apart, debris scattered across thousands of kilometers. The other was damaged but intact. "My God," whispered Jack. "We're not alone." "Scan for life signs," ordered Lisa, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "The intact ship has approximately 300 life forms," reported Frank. "Humanoid, but definitely not human. The other vessel? Nothing." Lisa stood up. "This was a battle, and we have no idea who won or why they fought." "Captain," said Susan, her voice shaking, "the active ship is powering up engines. They've detected us." Lisa made another decision that would change human history forever. "Open a channel. All frequencies, universal greeting protocol." For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, the screen flickered, showing a creature that looked almost human except for pale blue skin and eyes too large for its narrow face. "I am Captain Lisa Morgan of the United Earthship Horizon," Lisa said clearly. "We come in peace and offer assistance if needed." The alien tilted its head, then spoke in surprisingly good English. "Your language is simple to learn from your broadcasts. I am Zell-Tur, last commander of the Veldari Scout Fleet." Its voice had an odd musical quality. "You should leave immediately. The cracks will have detected your approach as they detected ours." Jack stepped forward. "The cracks? Is that who attacked you?" Zell-Tur's large eyes blinked slowly. "The Cracks Collective does not attack. They harvest, they consume. We have fled them for 3 generations." Lisa felt a chill. "And they followed you here? To our solar system?" "They follow all life," said Zell-Tur. "Your world would interest them greatly. You have reached a technological level that makes you useful but not threatening." "We should leave," whispered Susan. "No," said Lisa firmly. "We need to know more." She addressed Zell-Tur again. "Would you be willing to come aboard our vessel? We need to understand what we're facing." Hours later, Zell-Tur sat in the Horizon's conference room with Lisa and her senior officers. The alien commander moved carefully, clearly injured from the battle. "The cracks destroyed our home system 200 of your years ago," Zell-Tur explained. "We were once billions. Now we are fewer than 10,000, spread across our remaining ships." "What do they want?" asked Jack. "Everything," said Zell-Tur simply. "They strip planets of resources, harvest useful species as slave labor, and move on. They have done this for thousands of years. No one has ever defeated them." Lisa leaned forward. "But you fight them anyway." "We have no choice," said Zell-Tur. "Surrender means slavery. At least in battle. Some of us survive to warn others." The alien's large eyes focused on Lisa. "I must warn you now. They will come for Earth. It is only a matter of time." "How much time?" asked Frank. "Years, perhaps. They are thorough and patient." Zell-Tur touched a device on its wrist, projecting a hologram of massive ships. This is a small part of their fleet. They have thousands of these. The room fell silent as the humans processed what they were seeing. We need to get this information back to Earth immediately, said Lisa, and we need to offer you and your people sanctuary. Zeltur looked surprised. You would take in refugees who bring destruction to your doorstep? We won't abandon people in need, said Lisa, and we need to learn everything we can about these cracks if we're going to have any chance against them. As they made plans to escort the damaged Veldari ship back toward Earth, no one noticed the small dark object floating among the debris from the destroyed vessel. The crack scout probe silently recorded everything, analyzing the human vessel and cataloging its capabilities. Inside the probe's computational core, an assessment formed. The humans possessed technology that could be harvested. Their planet showed signs of abundant resources. Their systems had minimal defenses. The probe activated its faster-than-light communicator and sent a simple message back to the waiting Cracks fleet. New harvest world located. Defenses minimal. Indigenous species shows promise for labor force. As the Horizon and the Veldari ship turned toward Earth, a reply came to the probe. Maintain surveillance. Main harvest fleet will arrive within 5 planetary cycles. On the horizon, Lisa looked out at the stars, unaware that humanity's greatest challenge was already beginning. We have a lot of work to do, she said to Jack. Earth needs to prepare. Do you think we have a chance? Jack asked quietly. If what Zeltur says is true, these cracks have never been defeated. Lisa's expression hardened with determination. Then they've never met humans before. Let's make sure we're ready when they arrive. Meanwhile, deep in space, the Cracks probe continued, its silent watch counting down the days until its masters would arrive to claim another world. 5 years passed quickly. Too quickly, in Dr. Olivia Bennett's opinion. She rubbed her tired eyes and looked again at the test results on her screen. The lab on the moon's Copernicus base had become her home. She couldn't remember the last time she had seen Earth except as a blue marble hanging in the black sky outside her window. Any progress? Asked her assistant Daniel Wright, bringing her a cup of coffee. Some, Olivia said. The Veldari shields are impressive, but they didn't save them from the cracks. We need something better. Daniel nodded. The latest intelligence suggests we have less than a year before the cracks arrive. Olivia sipped her coffee and stared at the piece of alien technology on her workbench. It was part of a shield generator from Zeltur's ship. The problem isn't the strength of the shield. It's that the cracks' weapons phase shift to bypass it. So we need shields that can adapt, Daniel suggested. No, Olivia said, an idea forming. We need weapons that can get through their shields the same way they get through everyone else's. Across the base in the military section, Admiral Peter Harris paced in front of a holographic display showing the positions of the United Earth Fleet. Nearly 200 ships, built in the 5 years since first contact. It wasn't enough. The Mars Defense Force is now at full strength, reported Captain Sophia Lane. Lunar defenses are at 80%. And Earth? Asked the Admiral. The orbital platforms will be ready next month, but ground defenses are behind schedule. Political squabbling. Peter shook his head. Even with the cracks coming, we still find time to argue among ourselves. The door opened and Zeltur entered. The Veldari commander had become an essential advisor to Earth's military. Admiral, we have detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of the Kuiper Belt. They match crack scout formations. Peter's face darkened. They're early. Intelligence said we had months. The cracks are nothing if not thorough, said Zeltur. These are likely advanced scouts mapping your defenses. Then we need to accelerate our preparations, said Peter. He turned to Sophia. Send word to all outposts. Full battle readiness. In 72 hours. Sophia rushed to carry out the order while Peter turned back to Zeltur. I need your honest assessment. Are we ready for this? Zeltur's large eyes blinked slowly. No civilization has ever been ready for the cracks, but humans have prepared more thoroughly than any species I have encountered. You may have a chance. Chance is better than none, said Peter grimly. On Mars Colony, Governor Alan Rivera watched as another transport filled with civilians prepared to depart for Earth. The evacuation was proceeding smoothly, but there were still over 1 million people on the Red Planet. "How many more ships can we expect?" he asked his chief of staff. 3 more this week, she replied. "But that still leaves 400,000 people." Alan looked out at the dusty landscape of his home. He had been born on Mars, the first generation of true Martians. Now he might be witnessing the end of the colony. "We'll prioritize children and essential personnel," he said. "And anyone who wants to stay and fight can join the Defense Force." His communication device buzzed. It was an emergency signal from Earth Command. Alan read it and felt his blood run cold. "Change of plans," he said. "Accelerate the evacuation. We have contacts at the edge of the system. The crack scouts have arrived." In her lab, Olivia worked frantically with her team. The message from Admiral Harris had been clear. Whatever they were working on needed to be ready now, not next month. "The frequency modulation is still unstable," said Daniel, making adjustments to the prototype weapon. "Keep working on it," said Olivia. "I need to check something." She walked to the secure room where Zeltur had set up a communication array, linked to the remaining Veldari ships. The blue-skinned alien was already there, monitoring distant signals. "Dr. Bennett," Zeltur acknowledged her. "You have questions about the Crack's weapons?" "Not their weapons," said Olivia. "Their ships. Do they use the same phase shift technology for their hull defenses as they do for their weapons?" Zeltur considered this. "Yes, their entire technology is based on phase manipulation." Olivia smiled for the first time in days. "Then I think I know how to hurt them." 2 days later, Admiral Harris stood in the command center of the UES Defender, Earth's largest battleship. Around him, officers prepared for humanity's first deliberate engagement with an alien enemy. "Dr. Bennett's modifications have been applied to 10 ships in the fleet," reported Sophia, "including the Defender." "It will have to be enough," said Peter. "What's the status of the Crack Scouts?" "They've begun active scans of Mars colony," said the sensor officer. 5 vessels, likely preparatory to a larger force." Peter straightened his uniform. "Then it's time to show them humanity isn't defenseless. Signal the attack group. We move in 30 minutes. As the human fleet assembled, Olivia watched nervously from the science station on the Defender. Her modified weapons were untested in actual combat. If they failed, humanity's first battle against the Cracks would also be its last. "Nervous?" asked Jack Russell, who had been promoted to captain after his service on the Horizon 5 years earlier. He now commanded the Defender. "Terrified," admitted Olivia, "but also hopeful. If this works, we give the Cracks their first bloody nose," finished Jack, "and buy Earth more time." The fleet moved out, accelerating toward Mars where the Crack scouts had been detected. On every ship, men and women prepared for battle, checking weapons and shields, saying quiet prayers, or simply focusing on their duties. On Mars colony, the remaining civilians watched the sky, knowing that somewhere above them, humanity's fate was about to be decided. The Crack scouts detected the approaching human fleet. To their surprise, instead of fleeing, the primitive vessels were moving to attack. This was unusual. Most species tried to hide or surrender when Crack scouts appeared. The scout commander sent a message to the main fleet, still months away. Indigenous species showing unusual aggression, eliminating resistance now. The Crack ships formed a battle formation, their superior technology giving them confidence despite being outnumbered. On the Defender, Admiral Harris gave the order everyone had been waiting for. "All ships with modified weapons, target the lead Crack's vessel. Fire when ready." Olivia held her breath as the weapons fired. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, to everyone's amazement, the Crack ship's shields flickered and failed. The follow-up conventional strike hit the unprotected hull, splitting the alien ship in two. Cheers erupted across the bridge. It had worked. "All ships, press the attack," ordered Peter, his face grim but satisfied. "Show them what happens when they threaten Earth." As the battle continued, Olivia knew this was just the beginning. They had surprised the scouts, but the main Cracks fleet was still coming. The real war had not yet begun, but for the first time there was hope. Humanity had drawn first blood against an enemy that had never known defeat. The victory against the Crack scouts was short-lived. 6 months later, the main Cracks fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system. There were hundreds of ships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. On Mars Colony, Governor Allen Rivera watched the last civilian ships leave. He had stayed behind with 50,000 volunteers to defend the planet. It didn't seem like nearly enough now. The Outer Defense Network has picked them up, his aide reported. They'll reach Mars orbit in under 3 hours. Allen looked at the crowded command center. These people had chosen to stay, knowing what was coming. Send word to Earth. We'll hold as long as we can. In orbit above Mars, Captain Samantha Lewis stood on the bridge of the UES Defiant. Her ship was one of 20 equipped with Dr. Bennett's phase shift weapons, forming the first line of defense for Mars. All ships report ready, Captain, said her first officer. Samantha nodded. Remind everyone, don't bunch up. The Crack's weapons will tear through multiple ships if we cluster. The warning had come from Zel-Tur, who had seen entire Veldari fleets destroyed that way. Samantha hoped the aliens' other advice would prove as valuable. Contact, called out the sensor officer. Multiple Crack's ships dropping out of faster than light. Travel. I count, my God, over 200 vessels. Samantha felt her mouth go dry but kept her voice steady. Battle stations. Signal the fleet to form defense pattern Echo. The human ship spread out, creating a web of overlapping fire zones. On the main screen, the Crack's fleet approached. They didn't bother with formations or tactics. They didn't need to. They're launching smaller craft, reported the tactical officer. Hundreds of them heading for the surface. Intercept what you can, ordered Samantha. Priority is the capital ships. If we can take out their command vessels, we might disrupt their attack. The space around Mars erupted in light as the battle began. Human ships fired everything they had, focusing on the largest Crack's vessels. Dr. Bennett's weapons worked just as they had against the scouts, disabling the enemy shields. But there were too many. For every Crack's ship they destroyed, 2 more took its place. And the Cracks were learning, adjusting their shields to resist the human weapons. On the surface, Kyle Watson huddled with his squad in the ruins of what had once been the main dome of Cleveland Settlement. The Cracks landing parties had breached the outer defenses within minutes. They're coming through the east sector, said Rosa Kim, his second-in-command. At least 50 of them. Kyle checked his weapon, a modified mining laser that could penetrate Crack's armor. He had been a civilian engineer just days ago. Now he was a soldier. Remember the briefing, he told his squad. Aim for the joints in their armor, and don't let them corner you. They release some kind of gas when they're damaged. The squad moved through the ruins, trying to flank the approaching Cracks. Kyle caught his first glimpse of the aliens through a broken wall. They were tall, at least 7 feet, with multiple arms and armor that seemed to shift colors. Not like the Veldari at all. Now, he shouted, and his squad opened fire. 3 Cracks went down immediately, their armor failing against the modified weapons. The others turned with surprising speed, returning fire with weapons that melted everything they touched. Fall back, Kyle ordered as part of the ceiling collapsed. Regroup at Point Bravo. As they retreated, Kyle saw more Cracks landing craft breaking through the dome. Mars was being overrun. In orbit, the battle was going badly. Half the human fleet was destroyed or disabled. The Defiant shook as another hit landed. Shields at 20%, reported the tactical officer. 2 more hits and we're done. Samantha gripped the arms of her command chair. Status of the phase weapons? Still operational, but the Cracks have adapted. We're only getting partial penetration now. On the screen, Samantha watched as another human ship exploded. The Cracks were methodically destroying the fleet, and the landing parties were already on the surface. Signal Admiral Harris, she ordered. Mars defenses are failing. Request permission to implement Operation Scorched Earth. Operation Scorched Earth was a last resort plan. It involved using experimental dimensional technology as a weapon. The Veldari had warned against it, saying it was too dangerous and unpredictable. But they were out of options. Admiral Harris received the message on the UES Defender, now stationed in Earth orbit. He looked at Zeltur, who had become his closest advisor. "Captain Lewis is requesting scorched Earth authorization," he said. "Is there any other way?" Zeltur's large eyes showed concern. "The dimensional technology is unstable. You could tear holes in space-time itself. But..." The alien paused, looking at the tactical display showing the overwhelming cracks force. "There may be no alternative." Peter made his decision. "Send the authorization, and God help them." Back on the Defiant, Samantha received the code. "Prepare the dimensional disruptors," she ordered. "Target the 3 largest Cracks command ships." The guide. Weapons were untested in combat. Developed from a combination of human theoretical physics and Veldari energy manipulation, they were designed to create localized rifts in spacetime. "Disruptors charged and ready," reported the tactical officer. "Fire," said Samantha. The effect was immediate and terrifying. Where the beams hit the crack ships, space itself seemed to fold and twist. The massive vessels didn't explode. They simply warped and disappeared, pulled into dimensional pockets that shouldn't exist. The effect spread, catching nearby crack ships in its distortion field. Some broke apart, others vanished entirely. For a moment, it seemed like a miracle. Then the cracks responded. The remaining ships, instead of retreating, accelerated toward Earth. At the same time, intense energy beams lanced down toward Mars, bypassing the remaining human defenses. "They're bombarding the surface!" someone shouted. Samantha watched in horror as the beams struck Mars colony again and again. The domes collapsed, the atmosphere venting into space. Tens of thousands of people, including Kyle and his squad, had just died. "They're not even trying to take the planet anymore," she realized aloud. "They're just destroying it." On the Defender, Admiral Harris watched the same scene with cold fury. "They're changing strategies," he said. "This isn't a harvest anymore. It's extermination." Zeltur seemed shocked. "I have never seen the Cracks abandon a harvest. Your weapons must have truly frightened them." "Or angered them," said Peter. "Either way, they're coming for Earth now." He turned to his communications officer. "Send word to all Earth defenses. The Cracks will be here within days. And they're not taking prisoners anymore." As the remnants of the Mars defense fleet limped back toward Earth, the Cracks continued their assault on the Red Planet, reducing centuries of human achievement to dust. The battle for Earth was about to begin. Earth prepared for the coming storm. 3 days after the fall of Mars, the Cracks fleet entered Earth orbit. Their ships darkened the sky, visible even in daylight as black specks against the blue. Admiral Peter Harris gathered his remaining forces. Only 80 ships remained of the once proud United Earth fleet. Against them, over 150 Cracks vessels loomed. "All defense platforms are online," reported Captain Sophia Lane. "Ground-based weapons are ready. And Operation Scorched." "Earth?" asked Peter. "Dr. Bennett has modified the dimensional disruptors based on what we learned at Mars. They're deployed on 30 ships now." Peter nodded grimly. "Tell the captains to use them only on my direct order. We saw what happened on Mars." The Cracks didn't wait. Their fleet split into 3 groups, one to engage the human ships, one to attack the orbital defense platforms, and one to begin bombardment of Earth itself. The first strikes hit major cities. New York, London, Beijing, all vanished in blinding flashes. Billions died in the opening minutes of the attack. In what remained of San Francisco, Sergeant Maria Diaz led her Marine squad through burning streets. The city was mostly rubble, but their mission remained clear. "Intelligence says a Cracks ship crashed 2 miles north of here," she told her team. "We need to secure it before they can destroy or recover it." Her second-in-command, Paul Garcia, checked the radiation scanner. "Area's clear. Whatever weapons they're using, it's not nuclear." "Small mercy," said Maria. "Move out." The squad worked their way through the ruins. Occasionally they passed survivors, huddled in the remains of buildings. Maria wanted to help them, but the mission came first. Every military unit had the same orders. Find cracks technology, especially communication devices. After an hour of careful movement, they spotted the crashed ship. It had plowed into what was once a shopping mall, its strange hull still intact despite the impact. "Perimeter security," ordered Maria. "Ellis, you're with me." Maria and Ellis, the squad's tech specialist, approached the ship. A jagged hole had opened in one side, revealing a glimpse of the interior. "No movement inside," said Ellis, scanning with a thermal imager. "But there are power signatures." Maria drew her weapon. "Let's go." Inside, the ship was unlike anything humans had designed. The corridors seemed to shift and change as they walked. The walls pulsed with faint light. "This looks like their control center," said Ellis as they entered a chamber filled with crystal-like structures. "I'll try to access their systems." While Ellis worked, Maria explored further. In another room, she found what looked like communication equipment. Strange symbols flashed across screens made of some flexible material. "Sergeant," called Ellis. "I think I found something. Their systems are still active, and I'm picking up what seems to be a communication frequency." Maria hurried back. "Can you tell what it's saying?" Ellis shook his head. "It's not in any language. It's more like pulses, patterns." "Record everything," she ordered. "Download whatever you can." As Ellis worked, the ship suddenly trembled. "We need to hurry," said Maria. "This thing might not be stable." 10 minutes later, they rejoined the squad outside, Ellis carrying a portable drive filled with cracks data. As they moved away, the alien ship began to glow, then imploded, leaving nothing but a smoking crater. "Self-destruct," said Maria. "They don't want us getting their tech." "Too late," said Ellis, holding up the drive. In orbit, the battle raged. Captain Samantha Lewis, now commanding the repaired UES Defiant, fought desperately to protect Earth. "Target the Cracks flagship with dimensional disruptors," she ordered. "Fire when ready." The weapons fired, creating the same terrifying distortions they had at Mars. 3 Crack ships vanished into nowhere. But the Cracks were learning, adjusting their formation to minimize losses. "They're adapting," reported the tactical officer. "Dimensional effect is diminishing with each shot." Samantha watched as a human destroyer exploded nearby. "Switch to conventional weapons. Target their weapons arrays." The battle seemed hopeless. For every Crack ship they damaged, another took its place, and Earth below them burned. At Lunar Base, Dr. Olivia Bennett worked frantically with Zeltur, analyzing the data from the battle. "There's a pattern to how they're adapting," said Olivia. "Their shields shift frequency in predictable ways." Zeltur pointed to a display showing Crack's ship movements. "They also maneuver as a unit, almost as if—" "As if what?" asked Olivia. "As if controlled by a single mind," finished Zeltur. "We always suspected the Cracks operated with some kind of hive consciousness." Olivia's eyes widened. "A communication network? If they're all linked, that would explain how they adapt so quickly." At that moment, her computer beeped with an urgent message. It was from Earth Command, marked highest priority. Sergeant Diaz's squad had recovered data from a crashed Crack ship. Olivia opened the files and gasped. "This is it. These are their communication frequencies." She and Zeltur worked quickly, analyzing the captured data. What they found changed everything. "The Cracks communicate using quantum entanglement," explained Olivia to Admiral Harris over a secure channel. "But the frequency pattern is something we can replicate and disrupt." "How quickly can you develop a countermeasure?" asked the Admiral. "Hours, not days," said Olivia. "But we'll need to modify Earth's defense network to broadcast the disruptive frequency globally." "Do it," ordered Peter. "Whatever resources you need." While Olivia and her team worked, the battle for Earth grew desperate. The Cracks had established a foothold in Africa and were spreading outward. Cities around the world lay in ruins. The orbital defenses were failing. In what remained of the Pentagon, Admiral Harris received the worst news yet. "The Crack Supreme Overseer has arrived," reported his intelligence officer. "A ship 3 times larger than anything we've seen before." On the main screen, the massive vessel appeared, dwarfing even the largest crack ships. It positioned itself in high Earth orbit, seemingly observing the destruction below. All remaining ships with dimensional disruptors, ordered Peter. Target that vessel. Samantha received the order aboard the Defiant. This is it, she told her crew. Everything we have left. The surviving human ships converged, firing their dimensional weapons at the Supreme Overseer's vessel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then distortions began to appear around the massive ship, but instead of being pulled into the dimensional rift, the Crack's flagship fired back. A beam of energy unlike anything seen before lanced out, cutting through 3 human ships instantly. "Evasive action," shouted Samantha as the beam swept toward them. The Defiant lurched, barely avoiding destruction. Just when all seemed lost, Olivia's voice came through on the command channel. "The disruptor is ready, broadcasting now." Across Earth and in orbit, every communication array, defense platform, and satellite began transmitting a specific frequency pattern aimed directly at the Crack's fleet. For several seconds, nothing changed. Then, amazingly, the Crack ships began to falter. Their coordinated movements became erratic. Some fired on each other. "It's working," said Peter. "Their hive communication is breaking down." Samantha saw her opportunity. "All ships target the Supreme Overseer's vessel. Everything we've got." The remaining human fleet concentrated fire on the massive flagship. With its coordination disrupted, its defenses weakened. Finally, after absorbing incredible punishment, explosions rippled across its hull. The Supreme Overseer's ship began to break apart, sections of it tearing away as its power core destabilized. In a final blinding flash, it exploded, sending shockwaves through the Crack's fleet. For the first time in recorded history, the Cracks had lost their leader, and humanity had won its first real victory. The destruction of the Supreme Overseer's ship changed everything. Without central guidance, the Crack's fleet fell into disarray. Some ships continued to attack Earth, but their once perfect coordination was gone. Admiral Peter Harris gathered what remained of his forces. "This is our chance," he told his captains. "We need to push them back while they're confused." Aboard the UES Defiant, Captain Samantha Lewis received new orders. "We're to lead an assault on their communication hub," she told her crew. "If we can capture it intact, we can broadcast a message to the entire Cracks Empire." Her first officer looked concerned. "Our ship is barely holding together, Captain." Samantha nodded grimly. "I know, but this could end the war. All volunteers for this mission." Every crew member stayed at their post. On Earth, cities lay in ruins, but people emerged from shelters as the orbital bombardment slowed. In what was once Chicago, civil engineer Bob Lang organized survivors to clear rubble and search for the trapped. "The military says the aliens are retreating," he told the group, "but we need to be ready if they come back." A young woman pointed to the sky. "Look!" Above them, visible even in daylight, flashes of light marked the continuing battle in orbit. Human ships, now on the offensive, chased retreating Cracks vessels. At the lunar base, Dr. Olivia Bennett worked with Zelter to refine the disruption signal. "If we can increase the power," she said, "we might affect their entire fleet at once." "There is another possibility," said Zelter. "If we capture their central communication hub, we could send a signal that would reach not just this fleet, but all Cracks everywhere." Olivia looked up. "Is that possible?" "Dangerous, but possible," said the alien. "The hub will be heavily defended even now." Admiral Harris approved the plan. A strike force led by the Defiant would target the Cracks communication hub, a massive satellite-like structure that had remained in high orbit throughout the battle. "This is our primary target," Samantha briefed her crew, showing an image of the hub. "We need to capture it intact." The mission launched 12 hours later. 5 human ships, all that could still fight effectively, approached the hub. Cracks defenders moved to intercept them. "They're still protecting it," observed Samantha. "Even without their overseer, they know how important it is." The battle was fierce, but brief. The human ships, broadcasting the disruption frequency, had the advantage. One by one, the crack's defenders were disabled or destroyed. "We're clear to approach the hub," reported the tactical officer. "Prepare boarding teams," ordered Samantha. "I'll lead them myself." Her first officer objected. "Captain, regulations state—" "I know the regulations," interrupted Samantha, "but I'm the most qualified person to identify what we need." 20 minutes later, Samantha led a team of Marines and engineers onto the crack's hub. The interior was vast, filled with crystal structures, similar to those found in the crashed ship. "Set up a defensive perimeter," she ordered the Marines. "Engineers, find me a way to access their systems." While the team worked, Samantha explored further into the hub. In what appeared to be the central chamber, she found what she was looking for: a crystalline structure larger than the others, pulsing with energy. "This is it," she said into her communicator. "The main broadcast array." Dr. Bennett's voice came through. "Can you connect our equipment to it?" "Working on it now." It took an hour of careful work, but finally the engineers managed to interface human technology with the alien system. From the lunar base, Dr. Bennett and Zell Tur began the process of accessing the crack's communication network. "We're in," said Olivia. "We can broadcast a message throughout their entire empire." Admiral Harris joined the communication. "What kind of message?" "Something they'll understand," said Samantha. "Something that will make them think twice before attacking another world." "I have an idea," said Zell Tur. Back on Earth, Bob Lang and his team of survivors had cleared a path to a collapsed shelter. They worked desperately to free those trapped inside. "I hear someone," called a rescue worker. As they dug, Bob noticed something strange. The few cracks ground forces that had landed were retreating, boarding their ships and leaving without a fight. "Something's happening," he said. "They're pulling out." In orbit, the cracks fleet was indeed withdrawing. Without waiting for orders, ships were jumping to faster-than-light travel, abandoning the battle entirely. "They're receiving a new signal," explained Zell Tur, monitoring the communication hub. "One that overrides their previous orders." On the hub, Samantha watched as the message they had created was broadcast across the stars. It contained detailed information on how humanity had defeated the cracks, the frequencies that disrupted their hive mind, and schematics for the weapons that had destroyed their ships. But most importantly, it contained a simple warning, translated into the pulse pattern language of the cracks. "Earth stands. Attack and die." "We're sending this to everyone, not just the cracks," said Olivia. "Any species with the technology to receive it will get this message." "Good," said Admiral Harris. "Let the galaxy know what happens when you threaten humanity." 3 days later, the last crack ship vanished from the solar system. Earth was devastated but free. Billions had died, but billions more had survived, already beginning the long process of rebuilding. In what remained of the United Nations building in Geneva, Admiral Harris, Dr. Bennett, Captain Lewis, and Zell Tur met to discuss the future. "Our latest intelligence suggests the Cracks Empire is in chaos," reported Peter. "Without their supreme overseer and with their communication systems compromised, they've lost control of many subjugated worlds." "And our message?" asked Samantha. "Being received across thousands of star systems," said Olivia. "We've already detected signals from 3 previously unknown species offering alliance or thanks." Zell Tur looked out at the ruined city visible through the window. "My people can finally begin the journey home. With human help, we might reclaim our world." Young officer entered the room. "Admiral, we're detecting an approaching ship. It's cracks, but different." On the display screen, they saw a single cracks vessel moving slowly toward Earth. It was smaller than their warships and broadcasted continuously on all frequencies. "It's a diplomatic vessel," said Zell Tur in amazement. "I have never seen this in all our history. The cracks are sending envoys." "To surrender?" asked Samantha. "Or negotiate," suggested Peter. "Either way, it's unprecedented." The 4 of them stood there watching as the crack ship requested permission to approach. Humanity had not just survived, it had changed the course of galactic history. "What do we do now?" asked Olivia. Peter straightened his uniform. "We meet them. We set terms. And we make damn sure everyone in the galaxy understands our message. Earth stands, said Samantha. Attack and die, finished Zelter. As they prepared to meet the Crack's envoys, satellites around Earth continued to broadcast humanity's warning to the stars. Never again would Earth be seen as an easy target. Humanity had earned its place among the spacefaring species, not through peaceful exploration but through fierce resistance against impossible odds. And across the galaxy, other worlds took note.